Good morning, everyone. My name is Lytle, and I will be hosting Mortgage Coaches Training Thursday. So what we're going to do today is we're going to work with a refinance. We're going to provide a refinance, and we're also going to work with debt consolidation. So it's be able to go into the report and be able to show you how you can work it to be able to show how they could pay off additional debt. So with that, just to be able to review what we're doing, I have a current mortgage here. It happened to be at FHA, and we'll go through all this details when we get into EDGE. It was taken out in July of 2013. They have MI, and I'm also showing in here monthly costs for their debt consolidation. I'm providing an increase in their loan amount for that debt payoff, and then they I'll be able to show monthly MI as well as lender paid MI. So when we work through this, we're going to create the report together. At the end, I'm also going to be working into the reinvestment strategy screen to be able to show you how much of that monthly payment that they're saving over a period of time. So with that, what I would like you to do is log into EDGE with me. I also want you to open up your question areas in GoToMeeting. Let me know where you're from, what company you are, so I can be able to provide any information surrounding your company to you. If you could go ahead and do so, I'll be able to answer any kind of questions there. Oh, Cornerstone, okay. Tana, I hope I got that right. Bank Home Loans, Flagstaff, okay, great, Lynn. Cornerstone, I just want to let you know we are working on fee template updates. So you do have fee templates. We're updating those. So if yours haven't been updated, email us at support. Okay, great. Oh, Pierre at Fairway, great, in Texas. Oh, Taffy, I've heard you've been on many of our calls. Congratulations on being on the Training Thursday. Okay, welcome, Volk, San Luis. I was just up there last week. Nationwide, Ben, Service Mortgage, Larry. Hey, Larry, how you doing? Farmington Bank, San Jose. I was up in that area last week as well. Van Dyke Mortgage. Wow, we're getting a lot of areas. Denver, Finance of America. Hey, Marla. Okay, and Rick from Fairway. Another, Salinas, Tony. That's great. I was just, yeah, my daughter had ACL surgery last week, and I was up in that area taking care of her. Okay, everyone, so what I want you to do is log into your EDGE account. So let's go ahead and log into EDGE. And with that, for those of you who are new to the Thursday call, what we do on these calls is dive deeper into EDGE and be able to ask any questions along the way, just as you are providing me information in the question area. Ask any questions too, and I'll be able to address them. At the end, besides doing that, going into the reinvestment, we'll also work with the mobile a little bit too. And then for those of you who want to point out the help button before we dive in, that help button is great to be, as a knowledge base to be able to search for questions, especially after hours. So say I was looking for just to work on EDGE Live. If I put EDGE Live, or I can even put just the word live, you can see how all the video tutorials will be provided to you. So that's one quick way of being able to find information on any kind of questions. And then I want to point out two items up above. You have the monthly calendar of events that we have, as well as our coaching call archive. So all our Tuesday coaching calls, webinars, Thursdays trainings are hosted on the coaching call archive. But the monthly calendar events, I do want to point out, besides our coaching calls that we're listing here, we do have an introduction to EDGE that is being held now on Mondays. So that could start your week out learning EDGE. For all of those who are new, we really dive into a little bit slower pace in learning all the fields. And we've added a new training class on Wednesdays. This is just being focused on the mobile device and being creative with that. So that's a good, if you haven't attended that Wednesday, please jump on. And then we also have the Mortgage Coach University. You want to learn more about that, just click on the link at the base, and it provides you all the descriptions of the different coaching or different trainings we have over a 3-week period. It also provides you information on different items you could do in EDGE. So if you haven't taken advantage of all these, you can always do a search in the knowledge base if you're unable to attend these trainings, or just go ahead and sign up and attend those classes. And Lynn, I'm not sure if you're talking about templates or past sessions or just video archive. So if you go to the coaching call archive page, you'll see that we'll have the Tuesday calls, but you see also our Thursday training calls are also posted here. And then we also have the introduction to beginner class held at the top here. So if that's what you're looking for, that's where you can find any of our past training calls. Okay, so now what we're going to do is I already have the report created. So I'm going to open up my report and we'll just walk through it and talk about it. So if you want to go ahead and follow along with me, open up a report by clicking on New at the very top. And then if you're talking about fee templates possibly, on enterprise accounts, we do have those. Email us at support because they also have on some of the trainings email templates as well. And if you want any of those type of information, email us at support and we'll be able to provide you those assets for you. So I hope that answered your question, Lynn. So now let's dive into our report here. So I'm going to go ahead and access this by just double-clicking. Let's go to the first screen. And with that, you can see I'm just entering basic data. So I have my name and a little bit of information. If you looked at my report, just to go back to it, you can see at the top here, I have the name, and that's usually, you can have borrower's first name and last name. I wanted a little more color around it, so I put my full name in the first name field, and then I added text to the second. So that's what you see here in Edge, how I was able to do that with the two different lines. I then continue. If you did have a borrower's co-borrower, you could place their information in here. The refer by, if you want to capture that to thank that person at a later date, you could do so. Partner email for those email alerts if you want to be able to have an assistant or a realtor who is working with you on a particular product or property, put their email address in there and they're going to receive those email alerts as well. Okay, so advancing our screen, we're going to keep it on own. If we had it marked rent, you're going to get the rent versus own report. So you'll see in the goal screens, I did not mark anything. If you want to identify what the refinance is, you can go ahead and use these fields. I'm just going to leave it empty and move on. So here you can see that I put in the new current purchase price. It's $325 now. Originally, it was appraised at $275. You'll notice that I have fields here, current monthly mortgage payment. You could definitely put that payment that they provided you in this field. It is a data collection. We do not use this figure, so I wanted to point that out, so I wanted to leave it blank for you just to show you. But a lot of times they'll provide you a payment. You want to put it in here just for reference. Current total payoff. If you wanted to have the accurate payoff, you could go ahead and put in this dollar figure, and this is what we use for our cash to close. So if you leave this field empty, our cash to close will be calculated based on the outstanding balance remaining on the current mortgage. So that's a question we get in support a lot of times. Once this amortization and you get that remaining balance, that's one figure, and then they put in a different figure in this total payoff. So just remember, if there's something in here, this is what we use for that cash out. So now with this particular loan, if you're keying it in, the borrower took this loan out in July of 2013 for $270,000. The interest rate at the time was 4.375 and a 30-year term. So when you enter these four pieces of data, the system will automatically calculate your remaining balance. On refinances, sometimes you might know a payment. You'll notice at the very base, we do have that calculated payment amount. Say this wasn't the exact number that the borrower provided you. It could be because they gave you a full pity payment versus a P&I payment. But if they gave you a P&I payment, sometimes, you know, the borrower is not quite sure of the interest rate or maybe their loan amount. So just to show you, you can play around with this just by going ahead and entering different information in, and you can see how it will recalculate that amount. So let's go ahead and put in that dollar figure and place that back in here. So you can see how you can work with the different fields to be able to see what that P&I payment would be. And if you have any questions on that, just go ahead and put it in the question area, because I know this can sometimes be a little bit confusing. So with that, I put in as much information as I know on that particular loan. I advance my screen, and now this is where we're going to incorporate their monthly costs. So here what we have done is I put in the estimated hazard insurance and property tax, have those dollar amounts, but you'll notice we'll have an additional monthly cost field. And so what I'm using this for is my monthly debt amount. So my monthly debt, and this could be credit cards, car payments, whatever that total may be, it would be $575. You would place that dollar amount there. And Taffy, are you talking about my figures, or are you talking about the numbers that you're working with? Taffy's asking about not getting a correct P&I. So with that, with the monthly debt, so this is the description. So also if you're in those areas where you might have, let me go ahead and I'll go back a screen and you could go ahead and we could try match. So with the, before I move on, the monthly debt field, if you have, like say if you're in Florida, you have windstorm or some additional monthly cost you want to be able to show, this description area is open for you to put whatever description, and this is what's going to print on the report. And then you just follow up with that monthly amount. This particular loan was an FHA at that particular time, where it has a higher MI amount, and the MI is for the life of the loan. So let's go ahead. I'm going to move back a screen so be able to see that data. So I have 7/1/2013 as my first payment date, T70 as my loan amount, 4.375 as the interest rate, 360 is the term, and then my P&I is 1348. So that's what you should have received, Taffy, if you want to just double check on that aspect. So, okay, so now that we have all our information in here, and we went ahead and filled out our monthly costs with our monthly debt. So now what you want to do is continue on, and we're going to move to the product area. And you can instantly just hover or click on product. If it's a new file, just click on product and it'll take you to the first product. Or you can always use the jump outs real quick. And that's what I'm going to do. I've left my affordability screen just empty for now because I'm not going to work with that and it doesn't affect my report. So now let's look at the graphs toward the right-hand side. You can see on that current mortgage with the new appraised amount, they're almost at the point where they won't need mortgage insurance anymore. So that FHA product, they definitely would want to refinance if they were taking cash out or not. So at that particular point, you could go ahead and refinance. In this particular case, we're increasing the loan amount, so that way the LTV is increasing back again. I'm showing a monthly MI as well as lender paid MI. So with that, I want to point out when you come over to this screen, it will be marked no here as a refi. What you want to do is click yes, and what that yes will do is carry over that base loan amount from your assumption screen. So you'll have all the property value, how much that base loan amount is, and how much equity you have in the home. So in this particular case, I want to be able to take off some cash and reduce my debt. So what I'm going to do is increase this base loan amount to $300,000. And you can see by placing that dollar amount, that's now going to be their loan amount, and now their equity is still at $25,000 for the home. The interest rate I'm using is 4.125, and I'm doing a term of 360. So if you're following along, just go ahead and key in that information, and then we're going to go ahead and advance to the next screen. So always when you're doing a cash out, always remember to increase that base loan amount to be able to show that cash out amount. Now going to our next screen, we're going into our fees. So with our fees, you can always make sure you put in your prepaid interest days. 15 is a good estimate. Some companies put 30. If you want to be more exact, I'm seeing people putting more 5 days. Whichever it is, put in your prepaid interest days so you can quote that estimate. And now let's go into closing costs to be able to show you how I reflect my debt being paid. You can see in this line item here, I have debt payoff. And then I put the $25,000 of my debt. I also have it marked as PPE. And the reason why I have it marked as a prepaid escrow is because this isn't a cost to the loan. It's similar to the cost with the reserves and the premium. They're not cost of the loan either. We do not want to include it in our short-term area. So let me just move over to the report real quick so I can connect the dots here between the PPE column and the report. So in the savings in the lower left-hand corner, the savings over 60 months is of all the unrecoverable costs. So this excludes any insurance premiums, any reserves that you collect, because that's not a cost of the loan. We also exclude anything that's marked as PPE. So that would be including the debt payoff or any of those items. So you could see in my closing costs and closing points that $25,000 or the reserve isn't being added into this area. The reason for it is having the fee being marked as a PPE. So to create a field like this, what I had done is clicked on Add Custom Fee. So I just put debt payoff. Some people want to have a little bit more description. They want to have specifics. If they want to have items for car payoff or credit card payoff, anything like that, you can determine what description it is by just using the Add Custom Fee. So if you click that Add Custom Fee, you could go ahead, I'm just putting in a new description, car payoff. And in here, this is where you could default that as a prepaid escrow figure. So if you mark that as a PPE and press OK, now when you use that field, it automatically is marked as a PPE, and you won't forget that for your short-term savings, so it will be excluded. So that's how you'll be able to show your different payoffs by just creating a custom fee and making sure it's excluding from the cost of the loan. I'm going to go ahead and delete that fee by pressing on that trash can, and it removes that line item. Anytime you make changes within the fee screen, always remember to apply the loan, and it will take your fees, save them, and then go ahead and total them and put them out in this area, your APR fees, non-APR fees. You can see the total figure for my prepaid escrow is quite high because it is totaling that $25,000 as plus the reserves. So we'll go through with my second product. So if you have any questions regarding those fees, please go ahead and let me know, and we'll discuss it again on our second product. Now let's move to our monthly cost. So you can see with our monthly debt, I did copy it over. I wanted to show you, but I zeroed out that cost. So you don't want to be able to have anything in that monthly cost because you will no longer have that debt. Next I'm showing is, because I'm still at $90,000, I'm showing my interest. It's no longer an FHA. And I have it at 78%. Just one moment, I have a question, Tanya. Let's see. Okay, you know what? It could be, Tanya, because you haven't added your reserves. And the reserves are added in the monthly cost screen. And as soon as we add the reserves here, we'll jump back to the fee screen, and you'll see that that number has changed. So if you're going to go ahead and put in the monthly cost percentages, put in the MI factor as well. Now in the reserve number of months, I'm using 3, and my taxes I'm using 5. So a lot of people are using 2 tax reserve number months depending on the area of the country, what state you're in. That number could be anything at this point. So once you have done that, and I've also collected 12 months premium. So once you've identified these 3 items and you have percentages in here, When you move back to your fees, you'll notice it's been included now into that total. So I hope that's what happened, Tanya. So if you could go ahead and update that, let me know if that's taking care of the numbers for you. Also, I want to point out when you go into the closing cost details, you'll see those reserves. So you'll see that they're grayed out because they work with, oh, perfect, I'm glad it worked. These are grayed out because this is items you need to modify in the other screen. So if you ever need to modify these numbers, you wouldn't do it in the fee area, but you would do it over in this area if you need to change the percentage or the number of months you're collecting. Okay, Deb has a question. Okay. If you're not seeing the Calc MI on balance box, have you keyed in a percentage? Because if I remove that percentage field, that box is removed. It's only showed when you put in a percentage in the MI field, and this field is used, Calc MI is only used on FHA and USDA loans to have that declining balance they required. So great, got it? So perfect. So that's those areas. And if you have any more questions, those are great questions. Please go ahead and address them. Okay, right below the Save As template, you should have a green button, Add Another Product. And I don't want to have mortgage insurance, so I'm going to show a lender-paid MI with a slightly higher interest rate. So if I advance my screen, as you're creating these products, this is a quick way of creating the second product. Go to your Copy From button and copy from your monthly MI product. And I'll go ahead and do that to show you. I press OK. So right here, my interest rate is lower. What interest rate? 4.875. So let's go ahead and you would update your interest rate to 4.875. The rest is going to stay the same. And then as I advance my screen, you can see it copied all my fees. My reserves are already in there. If I go into the closing cost details, you can see that debt paid off. It's carried over as well. So that Copy From button will save you time when you're creating those second and third products. So now with that, let's go to the monthly cost screen, and we need to remove the monthly insurance. So with that product, I removed monthly insurance, and we already had that monthly debt already removed. So that's how quick it is to do that second product. And you could do, up to 4, be able to show those loan scenarios to your borrowers. So at this point, we're going to stop with 2, so we'll be able to then go and look at our presentation. So moving back to the report, actually, just advance the screen once, and it'll be able to save all your data there. And now you should, report should be looking like this. And what I'm going to do is I press the button, share button in the lower right-hand corner. This is a quick way to grab your link. So I'm going to copy my link, and I'm putting it in the chat area. So if you want to follow along, be able to look at the report, you'd be able to do so by clicking on that link. Okay. So now with our product, you can see easily that we're saving monthly. We have monthly savings on both of the new products. Now let's go in and just look at it a little bit. I have my payment, and you can see the decrease in the payment amount. Now what I want to do is go into the more info and explain a little bit more details so you'll be able to explain this to your borrower. So not only you have the remaining balance is at $260, and you roughly took out $40,000 of equity. So let's go ahead and go into that more info. And here you'll be able to see the breakdown. Not only do you have the P&I payment, but you have your property tax, hazard insurance, and MI. So you'll be able to show that high FHA MI and how much it's reduced by a conventional. And then you also have that monthly debt that's showing. And you'll be able to show them that you're paying $575 a month toward debt. Now you're debt-free and you're paying 0. So with that, they have that extra $575,000 now, And I'll be able to show you in a moment how you'll be able to show in the long term how much they're actually saving. So let's go ahead and go to our closing cost screen now. And then with that, let's click on the fee details. You can see how that prepaid number. If you click on the fee details, you'll be able to see that there is a debt payoff as well as a prepaid escrow amount. So now with that, what I'm going to do is let's go ahead and talk about that short-term area. So looking at this, you can see how you have a negative graph in this area because you're refinancing, but you're taking money out. So obviously the cost is a little bit more. You could play around with these numbers, the 60 a month, to be able to tell them exactly when they would recoup that dollar amount. But before we go into more details about that, let's just understand it. So going into the more info button, what we do is, whoops, not that one. We take the interest and mortgage insurance over that 60-month period. And on the new loan estimate, these figures are also going to be on that third page in that tip area. So the interest and MI that they paid, plus the closing costs. That is the total cost of refinancing this loan. So that's the total cost that they're going to be paying out over that 5-year period. So that's what our savings. And at this point in time, they haven't really recouped the cost over that current mortgage. But they're saving that $575 a month. That's not really being accounted for here. And that's where we're going to go into the analysis screen and take accountability for that extra savings that they're having. So with that, let's close out of our short-term area. And going back into Edge, let's go to the analysis screen, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to work with the adjust reinvestment strategy. And we're also, once we do that, we're going to change it to show net worth. So we'll be able to show the net worth and how much they're truly saving. So with that, let's go ahead and click on net worth right now so you can be able to see those numbers. And now let's go into the reinvestment strategy screen. So now what we're going to do is you can see at the very top how much they're saving monthly over that current mortgage. So just to be able to show you exactly how much they'll be saving, just go ahead and put that dollar amount. Or if you, first of all, sorry about that, everyone. I'm just putting a dollar amount of the debt itself. So let's put in $575. They're no longer paying this amount. So this is showing that over a 15-year period, that $575, they would have saved $103,000 by paying that off. So let's take a look at that net worth. So you can see now that that net worth, the current mortgage, the other two products are much more advanced than that current mortgage in that net worth. Let's go ahead, advance the screen, and let's take a look at our report. So you can see now that the net worth has been changed, and you can see how you have your assets up at the top of it, and then the equity of the home below. And all I had to do is click on that graph, and you can see how the graphs bounce. So now I want to do is go ahead and let's just move this down so both of these areas match. So I'm going to use a 5-year term for both long-term and short-term. So let's go ahead and put 5 years. This is how you can make both those modifications. And you can see how the net worth has changed. So you can see in the 5-year period, the current mortgage is still winning out a 10. But now let's go into this a little further. There's a couple different ways you can work it. So this is one way just to be able to show them at the end of 5 years. They have they would have paid over $34,500 in that monthly payment, and this doesn't really include those interests on those products, how that accrues, you know, on the credit cards as well as the car payment. So this is just strictly money that they're saving, and we're not showing a rate of return or an investment balance, just to be able to show the borrower how much that they would be saving. So that's one way of being able to show that on the report. So you'll be able to see that. Let's advance the screen to be able to have that long-term effect on the report. And you can see how the long-term area has now updated and has a 5-year period of time. So now what we could do is play around with it a little bit more. And if you want to show them and they want to be able to pay off their debt, they want to pay off that loan fast, instead of just showing them how much that they have saved, even without a rate of return, how much they have saved, you'd be able to actually show them how to apply it to principal. So I'm removing just that debt alone. And now let's work in the reduction payment. In the reduction payment, let's just do the exact same thing, 591.96, 625.79. I'm putting in the total savings, not just the savings of the credit card debt. So I'm putting in the full monthly savings, and then I'll press return, and let's go ahead and take a look at our report. So with that, you'll see that there will be a bump right in this area here. We're going to have a reduction payment. You'll now notice that that 5-year period, they're all in positive area now. So reduction payment, you can see how we put in that monthly savings in both products toward principal. If you click on the More Info button here, go to the Reinvestment Strategies screen, and you'll be able to highlight those figures. You can also show them if they did apply that amount toward their principal, they would definitely have that mortgage paid off so much sooner. So you'll be able to guide them and be able to provide that little bit of information to them so they can see how much applying, because right now they're already paying that amount toward debt as well as toward their house payment. This now, you're including both of it toward the house payment. So pay off that loan early. Or let's go ahead and if they don't want to do that, they just want to build their wealth through an investment account. So now let's go ahead and change that dollar amount and put it in the investment account. So let's go back to Edge. And now let's click back on that reinvestment strategy. I'm going to remove this figure being applied to principal. And let's say we could get a 3% return, and let's apply that savings now toward an investment account. Why I can't round up, I don't know. I put the exact figures. So now at the end of, remember, it's a 5-year period. If they put away that savings that they just received from their mortgage, they would have roughly in 5 years $38,000 or $40,000. So let's see how that looks on our report. So now with that, you can see that the graph in the 60 short-term area, because it's not being applied to principal and just investment account, it went back to showing that negative figure here. So with that, we do have the figures over here in net worth, and then just to show you that information going into the net worth area, here's the investment balance, and it shows the rate of return that you're providing them. So if it's a different rate, they might already have an investment account. You can always start with the starting balance and then add that monthly figure, be able to show how much they could potentially save over that 5-year period. Now I'm going to get really crazy with it. Let's go into reinvestment strategy. So we do have that monthly MI. What happens when that monthly MI drops from the loan? You want to take that into account. So let's double click on that field and it opens up another matrix. So at the very bottom here, I want to point out, we tell you when the last month they no longer have MI. So a month in 95, they no longer have it, and they were paying $167 a month. So what I'm going to do is in this first line here, click on the number of months and place 95 in here. Then I want to place in the dollar amount. Whoops. Once I press OK, then at month 95, we'll be adding an additional $167.50 toward principal. So I'm going to press OK. And let's do the same with the lender paid. Oh, there's no MI on that one. Oops. Just one moment. Oh, actually you can't. Well, Deb, okay. Deb's asking a question regarding investment, showing an investment and principal at the same time. So you can, but you can't do the full figure. So in the aspect, let's go ahead on the lender paid. Let me go ahead and split it, and I could show you. Let's go ahead and remove this figure here. And so I have 625. I want to apply 300 toward principal. And then I'm going to do the remainder, 325.79 toward investment account. So that's how you could show, taking that savings, you could split it, but you can't show 625 going toward principal and 625 going to investment, because then you're accounting for 12.50 a month. So you have to do it one or the other. Perfect, got it. Or split it. So splitting also is a good way of doing it. So if I press OK, advance our screen, let's go take a look at our report. And then you'll see the reduction payment line will come, because we'll have not only a custom, because I have my MI, we also have that additional $300. So let's go into the more info so we could take a look at that reduction for that mortgage insurance. So you'll see that there's a button here. You'll notice by paying that additional MI that it has reduced the term to a little over 26, adding half that savings toward principal. It's a little over 21 years. So you could click on that button. It will open up and it will explain right there. At month 95, your mortgage insurance dropped. So I went ahead and I'm showing you how to apply it toward principal. They're already making that payment every month. Might as well continue making it, and they'd be able to have that loan paid off a lot quicker. Okay, so to get into the reduction schedule, you're in the analysis screen, and in the middle left is the just reinvestment matrix. So if you click on that one, it will open up, and every one of these fields that you can add a dollar amount to, you can even do it to the current mortgage. You could double click on those fields. Even in the investment, you could do the same. If for some reason you want to, we get comments on either that they haven't sold their home. Once the house is sold, they'll have an additional $100,000 to apply to principal, or they know they're going to get a bonus at the end of the year for X amount. They know they want to apply an additional $10,000 to principal. So all you would have to do is just double click on the field and say at month 12, we know that they're going to come in with an additional $100,000. But what you would need to do to show a lump payment, you want to also cancel it out. So if I add another field, month 13, I need to zero that out. Otherwise, every month I'd be adding $100,000 toward principal. So always lump sums, you could go ahead and do it, but always remember to zero those out. I'm going to go ahead and delete this and percent on there. So again, anything, any of the fields that you can work with, reinvesting MI, you could do the same down in here. You can invest that MI toward a investment account. So it's anything you could do toward principal, you can also do it in savings or an investment account. The other question is, wow, check that out. We also, I learned something new. We also have it where you can apply your cash out toward your savings or investment. So let's go ahead and check this out. Okay, cool. Let me go ahead and remove a couple items. Okay. So now I have zeroed out all my information. So if you're going to use these two buttons, you could go ahead and say investment. Whoops, I think I already pressed it. And it added that savings toward the investment account. So you've got two buttons that would be able to do it here for you, or you could just go ahead and add the dollar amount, and then you can always double click on the field there and be able to do any kind of lump sum payments or any reinvestment in MI, that type of thing. So let's go ahead and put in the 1,596 in our monthly savings toward principal and 625.79 toward our savings here. Okay, there we go. So now what I want to do is move over to the mobile device for a little bit and discuss the mobile device. If you have any questions regarding Edge or what we discussed, go ahead and put the question. If you have the question, put it in the question area. I'll go over a little bit more so. Or if just any of the items, if you want, we could go ahead and readdress. So what I want to do is let's go ahead and bring up my iPad. And for those of you who have not downloaded the app, it's actually quite simple. I'm on an iPad. Just go to your App Store, your Google Play Store, whatever device you may have. Quick way of doing it is just search for Mortgage Coach. So if you put in Mortgage Coach, you'll be able to not only get the app, the Mortgage Coach app, you would also have the Rate Watch app. So you want to be able to download both of these apps. You could, the Rate Watch app, you can download it onto 3 devices. So if you have a desktop version, you might have a phone, and you might have a tablet. So just let you know, you can access it on more than one mobile device if you do have one. So please download both of these, and then these are what your 2 icons will look like, Mortgage Coach as well as the Rate Watch icon. So we're going to go into the Mortgage Coach one. And let's pull up the report. So if you have your mobile device handy and you have downloaded the app, let's go ahead and move this over. I'm going to go ahead and place this number so we could view the same report that we were talking about on here. So if you have a link in here, we're going to remove these numbers here. And so this ID is 16 LT, whoops, TL, WM. It's also, the link is also in the chat area, so you can see the number more clearly if you want to look at it that way. Also, just to let you know, it's easy to, all you have to do is just key in the number, and then you, it will bring up the file. So if I just typed in 16 TLWM, and then if I go ahead and click on the arrow here, it will also take me to the report. And it didn't. Going into my history, no, gotta put that number in. Let's see. 16 TL. There we go. I had the wrong ID in there. Okay, and so it'll bring up our report. So as a quick way, you can either put your video on through the desktop, and I'll show you in a moment, or you can use your iPad to, or your mobile device to record a video to your borrower. But just to be able to show you the side-by-side, let's go ahead and click this up. You can see with the area, you have all your information, contact. The video would be in the upper right-hand corner. You have your summary section, just like in the upper left-hand corner, your monthly payment savings, which is your upper right-hand corner. Short-term, lower left, and net worth is my lower right. So we have each of the information. So if you go into the summary area, you can see that my highlights on my desktop also carry through to my Edge report. And then down at the base here is where we have all that information. So let's go into the payment breakdown, and you'll be able to see how you have the $575 showing right here for your monthly debt, and then also the different payments. So you have your payment breakdown that you'll be able to show, your closing cost details. You'll be able to click on the fee detail button right at the base of each of those, be able to see that debt payoff amount. Then in the reinvestment strategy screen, you'll also be able to show them the reduction toward payment and information like that. So you have everything. You can highlight it. You can also highlight it on the iPad, and I'll show you just a moment how you'll be able to use your mobile device in highlighting and using Edge Live just as you do with your desktop. So now I'm going to move this off my screen just for a moment, and let me set up my screen so we can really work with Edge Live. I'll show you on the mobile device how to work it as well as on the desktop. So I'm going to go ahead and grab that link one more time. This time I'm copying and pasting, so I won't have to worry about typing it in. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to have this set up. This is the report. If a borrower clicked on your link, this is what they would receive. They would need to read the disclosure, click I understand to access your report. Same on the mobile device. We had to click that disclosure before they were able to get in. So let's just put these side by side, and then I'll bring up the mobile, and we could show you how the Edge Live, you'd be able to drive the presentation and really discuss the details with your borrower. So let's go ahead and place this side by side. And how do I know which is your copy and which is the borrower's? A quick way of doing it is look at the base at that Clear All button. That Clear All button will let you clear out all your highlights on any of the data as well as the graphs all at once. So if you click on Clear All, you'll see that all my highlighting was removed. It also was removed on the desktop. And I just noticed my battery's going to die. So with that, I wanted to point out, I've been highlighting fields just by taking my mouse over the cell and left clicking. And you'll see how it highlights. I'm working on the loan officer's report. You'll notice the borrower's copy is mimicking what I'm doing. So that's what we refer to as Edge Live. So if I want to click on the whole column at once, I click on the title here, and the whole column will highlight. I can go down to the base, and I can clear out all my highlights. I can also go into the more info, dive into this area, really describe the information to the borrower. We could discuss the payments, how you accounted for the $575 in monthly debt, and your new loan options do not have that monthly debt. Also, by refinancing, your mortgage insurance has gone down, so you're not paying so you'll have a savings of that. Now moving over to your closing costs, let's go into the closing cost detail. You can see how the debt payoff is $25,000, and you know what? Let me bring over my iPad as well. You can see how it's driving the iPad, so you can see that aspect. So if I close out the report, now let's go into the reinvestment strategy. And you can dive into talking about how you took that savings and applied it toward principal. And if you had any of the numbers down at the base, you'll be able to show them that aspect as well. With that, so I'm just sliding this over, closing this out. And you'll notice by me closing it, it also closed it on the iPad or the desktop. So that's how you could drive the presentation when you're talking to the borrower. You can drive Edge Live by discussing the more info
and it makes it easy for the borrower to be able to follow along and really understand you. So as you start approaching TRID and you're having to have that discussion about interest and MI over a 60-day period, this in Edge Live is really going to help you be able to provide that information to the borrower. So now what I want to do is show you how you can use Edge Live. That was how to control it from the desktop. Now with the mobile app, you also can run Edge Live. So if you're out and not in the office at a desktop, it's not a problem. You could still continue your conversation with the borrower on your mobile device. So what I'm going to do is swipe to the right to get out of my report. And now what you want to do is in the upper left-hand corner, click on that silhouette. So when you click on that silhouette, you're going to log into your account. So go ahead and put in your email address, same email password as you use for Edge and RateWatch. It comes to the home screen. You can see that I've had 8 views today on my report. But the number of reports, those views, it was only 1. So this gives you an idea of your activity. I've sent 1 report and I've gotten 8 views. Now I want to go into my client area. And with that, you can see we have 2 columns here. If with that, the first column is the last presentations that I've accessed, that I've gone in and made edits. And this is column is the last presentations that were viewed by my client. You can see how they're slightly different than my order of access. So with that, what I want to do is let's work with the report we just created. So I want to go into the refinance product. It is a total cost, so I want to select that. So now you have a couple different options. So first, let's go ahead and work with the video, and then we're going to go work with live reporting. So with the video, go ahead and click on video, and you have an option, always use the camera and do a personalized message to your borrower. A lot of people use the presentation after they've earned the commitment. Then they use a pre-recorded video for follow-up, telling them the next steps. So you do have the option for an album, but always it's nice to be personal and use the camera and have a specific, there we go. Okay, everyone, so with this, you'll notice in the upper right-hand corner here, you have a way to switch your mobile device around. So if you want to be able to use it, walk it around, you'll be able to do that as well. You'll see that the record device, you just go ahead and click on record, and it would go ahead and start recording. If you do not want to shoot a video, just go ahead and press cancel, and you can go ahead and do so there. So let's go ahead and press cancel. And when you record a video, it does take a couple minutes to upload to your presentation. So if it's not on there directly, just wait a minute or 2 and it will be on there. So that's how easy it is for the video. And I'll show you, if you don't have the album turned on, I'll show you in just a moment. It's in your settings when you go and log in to the app. So now let's talk about live reporting. So in live reporting, just like with the desktop, you'll be able to touch your mobile device and be able to make those highlights. So if I click on summary and I start highlighting fields, I'm just clicking on my device and it's making the highlights. And you can see it's also making highlights on the borrower's copy. So now let's go over to the payment breakdown. And with that, it will also go ahead and open up the payment breakdown on the borrower's side. You can then go ahead and move to the closing costs. It will also switch for you. You can open up those fee details so you can show them the debt payoff. This hasn't downloaded yet. And then you also have your reinvestment strategy. So you can see how even if you're out in the field, you still can continue that conversation with the borrower. I'm going to click on the back button to get back to that home screen. If you're on an Android device, they usually have that back arrow here to get you back to the previous screen. You can go into each of the options, your statement payments, your net worth, your short term, just by clicking on it, just as you would view. I'm going into the more info up here. just as you would normally do in view of the report. But you can see whatever you do is being mimicked for the borrower here. You also have the option in the upper right-hand corner to share the report. You can always share it through an email or through a text message. So just click on one of that, and you'll notice that it will start with an email presentation, and it does provide the link. Whoops. So you'll see that. So you could just enter the information and then just add a little notation and send that email off. So that's a quick way of sharing the report. And it's always great to have a basic report always on your mobile device to share. Anytime you meet someone new, you'll be able to share that information just like a business card. So now let's go back to the silhouette so I can show you how to use that album. So if we go back to the silhouette and log back in, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner the silhouette. So this is your account information here. And you'll see now, once you've logged in, you have the camera album prompt button. So I have mine turned on, so if I had it turned off, whoops, it would go ahead and not access my album. So that's how you can turn that on. So again, it's in the, once you go into the silhouette, it's a silhouette again on the upper right-hand corner. Okay, with that, I am getting ready to wrap up today's call. Is there anything that you want me to address at this point in time? I will go ahead and stay online for a couple minutes, address any kind of questions. Remember, if you have questions during the week, email us at support. We have so many assets and so much knowledge we would be able to share with you. Make it easy. Reach out and ask for help. Also, we have the knowledge base. Make sure you use that, and that will also assist you. So if you have any particular presentations that you want to be able to learn how to develop and create, let us know, and on the next QA, we'll be able to develop that. So email us at support if there's a particular topic you want to see on our Training Thursdays, and we'll be able to show that on one of our future trainings. Again, I'll be staying around for a few minutes. Thank you for attending, and get into Edge and create those reports. And again, send us the links. We can review them for you. You know, Mark is asking a question on what is the emphasis on the name to show in the report you mentioned at the beginning. Okay, this is just a reference for your borrowers. Mine, I wanted to add a little text, just a little color underneath here. So if you go to Edge and you go into the client, the very first screen, I put the full name on my first name, and then I put a little extra language here. So that's how I did the combined information. You also have the borrower's first and last name field too. But for privacy, I want to also address this. A lot with privacy, you might want to put the person's first name and first name only, because that way they won't have something out there and they could stay a little bit anonymous. So with that, I went ahead and removed the word Lytle, and this is going to update on the report in just a moment. And that's one item. Another item you can also put in, see how it now reflects Lori refinance with debt consolidation. Also, in our property, if we go to contact, you do have a property field here. Again, for privacy, you might not want to put the street address, but you can always put in the city and state. So if you do that, always make sure you advance the screen anytime you make a change for it to save. And then now you'll notice at the very top of that, it's going to have the property address right below that name. So you'll be able to have that. So hopefully, Mark, I answered your question. But again, I also add a little bit about that privacy information. So if there's any other questions, go ahead. Okay, great. I'm glad that answered that one for you. Any other questions? Go ahead and put it in the question area. I'll hang out for a few minutes and address those questions if anyone has them. And thank you again for everyone attending. Let us know what you need to learn, and we'll go ahead and show it on our next Thursday training. Thank you.